I think we have at least six such attacks in Pakistan last year, where both TTP and ISPP claimed their responsibilities. Majority of these attacks were in Rawalpindi city. ISPP was claiming, TTP was also claiming. Now, in such cases, I think the underlying pattern can be that, it's a fluid threat. Afghanistan-Pakistan conflict environment is very fluid. In such fluid conflict environments, at the lowest level, which is at the foot soldier level, the membership, group membership overlaps, and I'm sorry, and side switching is commonplace. So where foot soldiers keep jumping from one group to another for better salary, better opportunities. It could be due to peer pressure. It could be due to other incentives. So number of factors can result in side switching. The other phenomena that underpins overlapping responsibility claims can also be the involvement of what we refer to as so-called freelance militants who act like paid mercenaries, and they provide their services for money. They are like hitmen. So you pay them, and whoever pays them, they will do the attack on their behalf, and the group will claim the attack. So I think what could also be the possible explanation is that in these attacks, the six attacks, the militants who were doing these attacks were paid mercenaries. They were doing these attacks for TTP as well as for ISPP. So they were paid, they carried out the attack, and I think both groups claimed because they thought the attacks were carried out on their behalf. So I think when it comes to involvement of freelance militants, or when it comes to overlapping membership where side switching is common, overlapping claims can happen. And I think one of the two could possibly be the answer. So, by definition, you see, terrorism is propaganda by the deed. Terrorists do not kill, or they do not engage in violence for the sake of violence. Rather, they do violence to publicize their grievances, their ideological, ethnic, or political agendas. So, in other words, they do not wish to perpetrate attacks to kill a lot of people. Rather, they want a lot of people see some of the people killed, and then they claim and try to highlight why they have done it. And that is actually the motive, which is publicize. So for each attack, no terrorist attack is random. For each attack, logically, there should be a responsibility claim. But surprisingly, if we look at the overall global data of terrorism, you will see that majority of the attack, almost around 60% of the attacks, are unclaimed. Now, then the question is that if terrorists want publicity and that is their oxygen, then why they will not claim an attack that they have done? And I think a number of reasons also explain that. For instance, for decentralized large-scale groups like TTP with numerous factions working under them, sometimes a faction does an attack, but if that attack is not commensurate with the overall strategic objectives of the group, then the group, doesn't claim the attack. Sometimes it also happens that they have done an attack, but the overall damage of the attack is more than what they had expected. What we can refer to as unintended consequences of an attack, such as the army public school attack, for instance. in such cases where the terrorists believe that while this attack will help them achieve their strategic objectives, but it could also result in severe counter-terrorism backlash, resulting in weakening of their organization, etc. Even then, they resist from claiming it. Lastly, what also happens is that, for large-scale decentralized groups, the relationship between the central leadership and the mid-tier is not as rigid and hierarchical or strong as one would expect in more centralized groups. So for such groups where the mid-tier enjoys operational autonomy, sometimes these groups start engaging in criminal activities as well. So in Pakistan, we have seen that, in the heydays of terrorism, a lot of petty criminals, to save their lives, became militants. And we also saw some militants becoming criminals because the greed factor comes in. And once they start engaging in criminal activities such as extortion, kidnapping for ransom, even acting as hired murderers or hitmen for making some money. So when they do not have a directive or a guideline from the central leadership to do certain acts, but they still end up doing them, even then the central group doesn't claim those attacks. So I think these are some of the instances where the groups would desist from responsibility, claiming the responsibility of such attacks.